The Super Regionals are officially in the books as two SEC teams have punched their tickets to Omaha. The LSU Tigers, the Arkansas Razorbacks, after the dust settles on another wild weekend in college baseball, two of the 8 that make up the field for the College World Series. We are here reacting to, recapping, and breaking down what took place, not just in the 3 SEC Super Regionals, but the entire Super Regional weekend as well. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He's Harrison Fant. This is the Windup SEC Unfiltered bi-weekly college baseball show, the best college baseball show on the internet. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast where you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. And as always, we are powered by our friends over at FANDUEL. Visit FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FANDUEL.com/SECU to get $250 in bonus bets today. The Super Regional round has officially concluded. We are just days away from the start of the College World Series in Omaha, Nebraska, and a pair of SEC teams will do battle over the weekend and throughout. The LSU Tigers and the Arkansas Razorbacks officially punching their tickets to the College World Series, and we've got other Super Regionals to talk about from across the country as well. As for the first time since the 50s, no team that made the College World Series a year ago is in the field. Expect the unexpected in college baseball. Once again, guys, I am Chris Phillips. Joining me, as he always does here on the Windup, my good friend Harrison Fant. Harrison, what's going on, man? I appreciate you taking the time and excited to break down just what went down in the Super Regional round with you.
An incredible Super Regional round that delivered such big moments, big plays, and memories for teams that punched their tickets that they'll remember for the rest of their playing and honestly probably their lives. And, we're excited to be able to cover it. The SEC represented in Omaha yet again, 2 big powerhouse teams. Like you said, the first time since 1957, to be exact, that all 8 teams have not made it to Omaha the prior year, which is unbelievable to think of and just honestly so good for the game of college baseball as a whole when you think about the landscape of it in its entirety. And I mean, I'm excited for it and so stoked for Omaha and can't wait to get there.
Yeah, we'll be on the road very, very soon, less than 24 hours or right about 24 hours from the time of us airing this. We will be on the road to Omaha, Nebraska on Wednesday. Going to be getting after it immediately, obviously Thursday. Guys, we've actually dropped a lot of announcements since the last time we talked to you all. So Thursday, we'll have a live show from Omaha Baseball Village. We'll preview the College World Series, break everything down, lock in predictions. Next Monday, we'll be at Rocco's, and on next Wednesday, we'll be at Blatt's. Full details on social media, and I'll touch on those again at end of show. Harrison, before we get going, though, I do have a big update for you and the entire audience. I don't want this to get lost in the shuffle, but after much anticipation, after many, many weeks, many months, you and others requesting and staying on me, we finally have it. It is prepared. It is ready. I thought no better time to unveil this. The SEC Unfiltered baseball helmet. For those who are watching, if you are listening via podcast, you've probably seen it on social media. We officially have the SEC Unfiltered baseball helmet. It is ready to go for
just in time for Omaha.
Just in time for Omaha. All good things come to those who wait and who have patience. Also, little teaser for you. Harrison doesn't even know this. I have been informed that there may or may not be a custom bat being delivered to SEC Unfiltered in our Monday show at Rocco's. So you'll have to come out and see if that actually comes to fruition. But I have been told I have been sent the mock-ups from our good friends over at a little place called Marucci. They are working supposedly on a custom SEC Unfiltered bat for the setup. Going to be a great time. Again, guys, check us out in Omaha. Going to be a lot of fun. But first things first.
One request?
You can have one request. Yes. What's the request?
For the show specifically. Can we flop the helmets out right now? Flop them out.
I don't feel like it would look good in the background. You think it would look good?
Flop it out. You got it.
See. All right. For those that can't see, we're popping out.
It's like saying, here it is. I'm not going to use it.
Well, I just didn't know if it would be good in the display. And I wanted to surprise the audience. Let's see.
Worst case, tilted down a little maybe.
It's kind of hard to.
You can tilt the brim down like that, yeah, and I'll push it over. Rotate a little bit.
It almost looks like a work helmet.
Yeah, rotate it that way a little bit so you see some side angle, some depth to it. A little more. Keep going. Right there. That looks good.
Okay, this will work for today.
That's it.
It will look much cooler when it's sitting on the table. We're doing the live show.
I like that, though. I like that.
But this is the makeshift. Yes, the baseball helmet is officially here and is not a paid actor, or maybe it is. Maybe it is paid actor on today's show. Harrison, again, we're really excited for Omaha. As you can't tell, we are giddy to get on the road and get there, but we want to make sure we talk about how we got here, how we got to these 8 teams, and everything that happened over the weekend. And going to try to keep it to the baseball as much as possible because I think just as much happened off the field, especially involving yours truly with the dramatics, as did on the field. And with that being said, we're going to talk about the 3 SEC Supers first. Why don't we start in Auburn, where the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers went 2-0, swept the Auburn Tigers behind dominant pitching and really just a dominant outing, dominant performance, 2 games. I very notably had one of the coldest takes of my entire career. Picked Auburn to get the sweep. It did not happen. I've gone on record. I've eaten my words. Listen, we believe in tipping the cap here at SEC Unfiltered. We believe in tipping the cap at the windup. We'll tip the cap. We'll give picks, but we'll tip the cap. We'll give credit afterwards. Coastal Carolina deserves it all. Obviously, it was no fluke. That is a legitimate national title contender. Harrison, the pitching was dominant. They play great defense. 1 through 9 is really gritty. Kevin Schnall, one of the best in the business. And I'll finally just say that Coastal Carolina sports, I'm honored that my prediction got turned into a diss tape. I love it. I actually loved it. It was a really fun weekend. Had a lot of fun with you guys. And obviously, like I mentioned, I've gone on record since then, eating crow. But want to give you an opportunity to talk about this. Again, Coastal going into Plainsman Park, a raucous Plainsman Park, and sweeping the Super Regional.
Yeah, and I said going in, the biggest matchup for this is going to be Coastal Carolina's pitching staff. I mean, the 3-headed dragon they have of Jacob Morrison, Cameron Flukie, and Riley Eckhoff, who they didn't even have to use because they won game 1 and game 2. But I said that was going to be the biggest challenge for Auburn, is getting to that pitching staff who's been so dominant all year long. Jacob Morrison, he has 17 appearances, 16 starts, 11-0. I know I'm not a big win-loss guy, but when it's that big, I mean, come on. Like, he's got a .93 whip in the season, 2.15 ERA, 96 innings. I mean, about a strikeout inning, but like, he just looked so dominant and so good. It felt like I was really surprised. Not surprised. I was really surprised that I guess the Auburn bats felt as quiet as they did for the majority of the series. But I mean, I expected Morrison to go in there and just really compete against this Auburn Tiger lineup, and he did. And Hayden Johns came in and followed him up with 3 shutout innings with 2 hits. I mean, I was impressed by that on all fronts. We know how loud, explosive this Coastal Carolina offense is, even though they don't mash a ton of home runs like a lot of other teams that are even still left. But Cameron Flukie gives you a really quality start. The bullpen holds the line outside of Dominic Carbone, and the offense gives you enough production with Caden Bodine at the beginning of the order. I mean, Blage and Pato. I mean, you have guys up and down the order that just give you some production when they needed it, when they need it most, and they're able to go into a hostile environment. The first time Auburn's ever hosted a super regional. And they've been to Omaha a couple times. They've been recently one time in, what was it, 2021, I believe, and they did it on the road. But I mean,
first time they've ever hosted a super. Yeah,
they've added so much seating to Plainsman Park for this super regional, and Coastal went in there and just kicked down the door. They kicked down the door and proved that they deserve to go compete for national championship, and found themselves back in Omaha for the first time since 2016 when they went through and won it all, Chris. And you got to give props to them, Coastal. I said it was going to be a dangerous pitching staff. It's the most important and, best and, thing that I thought was the hardest part about their team. And they went in there and proved it. And they did it on a big stage.
They did. Again, they shut down Auburn. And it was a good Auburn team. We can get to this at some point. A lot of people wanted to poke holes in the SEC and maybe a team like Auburn where they overseeded. I don't think so. They dominated through the regional and they just ran into a really, really good Coastal team that was just better than them and beat them. And there's really no other way to put it. I mean, it was clean.
And to speak on, go ahead.
I was just going to say it was clean baseball throughout. Like, it wasn't like Auburn, I thought, played terribly. They just flat out got beat.
Yeah, and to speak on Auburn, like, they didn't play bad. I mean, I think the worst part was you get one of maybe Sam Dutton's worst outings from your ace in the most crucial time and most important time of the season. You can say with 3 2/3, 6 earned, 3 Ks, 1 walk. I mean, you only faced 18 batters, and that's your ace. You're like, you got to rely on that guy. And, it doesn't really help out, the length you have in game 1 and sets you up for the rest of the series, even if you can get to a game 3, which they didn't. But, the lineup, I thought we were watching along on, was it Saturday? No, Friday. The game 1 when it got delayed. And I hopped on. We didn't watch a single pitcher because it got delayed. And they ended up starting that game, what is it, close to midnight Central. And, there were some sparks from Auburn. I was really impressed with that. I'm like, hey, you got to come out here swinging. They did. And just not enough to overcome, the deficit they were in. You do get production from Ike Irish, Cooper McMurray, just not enough production throughout the series. And, I still think a fantastic season, a phenomenal season. I'm going to go with an A season from Auburn. Absolute A season. I think just from the expectations going into the season, how they went about their season. I mean, you think they swept LSU, who's going to Omaha. They went in and took a series at Tennessee, who was in a super regional. They battled really well against Texas, who won the SEC regular season. They played very well against, Georgia. And to end up in a super regional, hosting their first one in school history, ask me an A season for me, excuse me.
Yeah, I'd go A as well. I mean, listen, you're a top 8 national seed. You sweep through a regional. Absolutely. Like you said, you host the super, obviously. And A+ would be if you get to Omaha, but I think, and I'm not trying to lower or demean the expectations, but I mean, at a place like Auburn, if you're making supers and you're hosting supers, that's a fantastic year. Like, that's a fantastic season in my mind.
And it wasn't like an overpowering, like this is a lineup and pitching staff full of day 1 picks. You've got to really. You don't have Jared Spencer. You don't have Liam Doyle. You don't have Wahia Aloy. You don't have Kais. You don't have these guys like they're just studs of it. I mean, you have Ike Irish and Cooper Murray, the biggest names in their lineup for sure. And Ike Irish is a day 1 guy, but you're not just stacked top to bottom with that as much as some other teams around the league are.
Yeah, I think the most encouraging thing for Auburn, you've got a really strong core nucleus of young guys.
Yeah.
They all showed out this year to build around. And again, when you look at the super, you got to tip the cap to Coastal. Certainly I've done it to this point. And
I respect that.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, when you leave no doubt like they did, they're going to be a fun one to watch in Omaha. Certainly it is going to be a very fun fan base for yours truly to interact with. I'm already preparing myself mentally to get chirped, which is totally fine. It is what it is. It's part of the game. We love it. The beauty's in the banter. That's part of the game of baseball. Chirping is as much part of it as anything. But, Auburn Tigers, their season ends 2-0. Coastal wins the super. And, again, they are going to be a really fun team, especially with that pitching staff, Harrison, to watch in the College World Series. There's no question. Let's go over to Fayetteville, which was, I think the headliner, Harrison, of the Super Regional weekend, at least going in. That was the one we all had our eyes on. Arkansas sweeps this. Had a lot of sweeps in the Super weekend, I felt like.
Yeah. Only Arkansas, one game through to Monday. We're surprised.
Yeah, only one Monday game was surprising. But Arkansas wins this one 2-0. You picked the Hogs. I went Vols. And I knew that was a little bit of a reach, but felt like I saw some things I liked from Tennessee in the regional. Arkansas still in the back of your, at least in my mind, was, can they get over that hump and get back to the College World Series? This one, Harrison, we expected to be spirited. We expected to be chippy. It delivered, especially in game 1, the whole Zach Root, Andrew Fisher thing. You could tell, it's interesting, Harrison, you could tell with this Arkansas team, they're one of the favorites for sure, but you can tell there's a chip on the shoulder with this group. Like, I think they understand, like, there's some people still doubting them, obviously, because of what's happened in year past, and this team's kind of taken it upon themselves to say, hey, this is a new year. This is a new Razorbacks team. And they did that. Zach Root pitched phenomenally in that game 1. And then game 2, they put belt to ass. And I thought you saw, Liam Doyle, the way they touched him up. Liam did Tony pull him out a little bit early. Hindsight's 2020, but you pull him out and the wheels kind of fell off. And
yeah.
He's never pitched well in Fayetteville. I don't know. They just, Arkansas's got his number. So it just, I think at the end of the day, Harrison, Arkansas was just the better baseball team. It's really as simple as that. And they showed that over the weekend.
I think it came down to game 1 and the result of it being 4-3 when, you have Marcus Phillips go, and this is how they went into it the regular season. Marcus Phillips went game 1, Liam Doyle went game 2. I know this is postseason a little different, but Liam Doyle pitched on that Monday coming out of the bullpen. He said, I'm going to the bullpen and I'm not going there to sit. I saw a quote for that. I thought it was hilarious. And Liam Doyle said that specifically. And to get, 5+ out of Marcus Phillips, scattering 8 hits, only give up 4 runs to this lethal 1 through 9 lineup at Arkansas, and then the bullpen shoves the rest away, gives up 2 hits, no runs. You have to, I feel like Tennessee on the road, you got to win that game. You got to win that game. Game 1, give up 4 runs to this team. And, yes, I'm not saying it's easier. You should go in there with that expectation to win that, but you go in there with that mindset to do that. And if you can give up 4 less runs to this Arkansas team and the bats and the 1 through 9 power that Tennessee has and the production 1 through 9, you got to feel really good about your chances. And it would set you up so well to win one of the next 2 games on the road. It puts you in that spot where all the pressure's on Arkansas again at home post, but they don't do that. And, you got to give props to, Zach Root, 7 innings, 1 hit, 2 runs, 1 earned. I mean, it wasn't striking out guys because Tennessee's a tough team to strike out a ton. 6 strikeouts though, but I mean, he was just dialed in from the jump, Chris. From the jump. And Gabe Gakel follows suit and says, all right, I got this. Hands it over to him, and same thing. I mean, 2 innings, 1 hit, 1 run. I mean, I was so impressed with that. And just the energy that he had pitching against this Tennessee team in this moment in the postseason was just, yeah, you can say a little theatrics. Tennessee's had their moments too this season. Andrew Fisher's hyping up the crowd. Some people don't love that. Jeffrey Core doesn't love that. Chipper Jones doesn't love that. I get it, but let the boys play. And I didn't mind it. He went out there and earned it. When you do, if you give up a home run, tip your cap. But if you have that kind of outing, you do that. Sure, you get a little bit of excitement and stuff. I mean, we've seen Liam Dorr do it plenty this year, and I mean, he's been one of the best pitchers of the season and a first-round pick, top of the first-round pick, and a Golden Spikes finalist. But then game 2, I was a little more surprised with just you only get 3 1/3 out of Gage Wood. And I know he's only got 3 hits, 1 earned, but they make the call to the pen. You can question that, hindsight's 2020 because that worked out, but it's why are you pulling in that situation? I mean, yeah, I was just a little, I don't want to say surprised, but you could talk through that too and say, did Tony Vitello leave or not leave his ace in long enough in Liam Dorr? Because that's I had Alabama fans texting me that. Say, why did Liam
pulling him out around 70 pitches? I mean,
yeah, 76 pitches. Was it 3 2/3? Yeah. I know he's 5, but just it wasn't his best stuff, and you could tell that, and you knew that. But I mean,
I just think at that point, it's like Liam Doyle still, even at not at his best, is probably still better than anybody you're about to bring in. I mean, again, hindsight's 2020, but the kid they brought in.
But the thing is, though, Chris, most of the runs after that felt like were just wild pitches.
That's what I'm saying.
Walks and wild pitches.
Granted, you can't predict he's going to come in and do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you go Braden Krenzel, and then you go AJ Russell, Nate Snead. Those are 2 guys that are staples in this bullpen and have been staples on this team as long as they've been on it. Feels like, and Brandon Arvidsson has had his shining moments too. Didn't have it, in this super regional here. Dylan Lloyd comes back in. He does a really good job, I think. I mean, it just you don't get enough offense production, and it's hard to claw back when you give up 11 runs to this Arkansas team. That's why I said if you give up 4 less runs, you got to feel really good and have a great shot to win this game and hoping to kind of expect to win that game in some capacity. But then you just give props to Arkansas's bullpen. I mean, the combination of Cole Gilbert, Aiden Jimenez, Parker Coyle, and Christian Fauch, who didn't, he gave up 2 runs in his 1 inning in the 9th, but I mean, you still got to give props to the bullpen as a whole for holding down this lethal and hungry Tennessee line that can produce, like I said, 1 through 9, backs against the wall. They usually do a very good job of doing that last season and for the most part this season, but it's just putting all the pieces together, and they weren't able to do that in Arkansas. I think that feeling of playing at home really kind of put them over the edge and helped lift them and just the momentum. I mean, you can talk about momentum, Chris. It was the grand slam for me. I mean, honestly, it was the grand slam that just kind of changed. I feel like it changed. I don't want to say change. I feel like it catapulted Arkansas's momentum as a whole, and just it's like put the nail in the coffin almost in a sense. It's like one more tap and it's out, and that just you could feel the energy watching that on TV. And I mean, that's why I picked Arkansas. I just thought they played unbelievably well. One of the best teams in the country at home. They're one of the most complete. They're the most complete team in college baseball, top to bottom, offense, defense, and pitching. And it's why I leaned to Arkansas. I said it wouldn't surprise me if Tennessee won this series, but I did not expect a 2-game sweep. But I mean, it's just tough. And, with inconsistencies that Tennessee has had here and there, and just the potential that they have, the roster, the talent, let alone being defending national championship, champions. I mean, how do you grade this season, Chris? Because Tennessee, it feels like an odd season. in a hole. I mean,
I give it like a B. I mean,
I give it a B.
You still made the supers. I think anything below like a B, making the supers, you're getting a little harsh.
Yeah.
You're getting very harsh, actually.
I think you could grade the regular season as like a B minus.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
You lose 6 of
I
your
think
last
that
7. Yeah.
you have to look at it like kind of even more macro. Tennessee's since 2018, Tennessee, or when Florida went back to the championship and lost, they are the defending national champions that's gone the farthest after winning the title the previous year. They went to a super regional. Since 2018, they have gone the deepest and farthest in the postseason since any team that's won a title since 2018. I think you have to give a tip of the cap to that.
Yeah. I mean, I think the expectations are just so high there now, and they're under the microscope.
Our expectations to Omaha. I don't even care if it's LSU. You can't say that.
I'm just saying they're just under the microscope because of it's Tennessee and everybody loves to hate them and Tony Vitello right. But no, it certainly wasn't like a failure of a season by any stretch. I'd give it a B. And again, I think for most teams that'd even be a little bit harsh. But when you are Tennessee, like the expectations to go to Omaha, and they still had a good year, I thought. But again, I think the bottom line is they just ran into a better team. Like you beat a team once, okay, maybe you can poke some holes in it.
Yeah.
I mean, Arkansas literally beat them twice. I mean, there's no doubt left in my mind at that point. I think like we were talking about like Liam Doyle, like even if they leave Liam Doyle in, I think Arkansas probably still wins. Like I don't even know if it really would have mattered.
I think it probably would have been like an 8-4 ball game or a 7-4.
Yeah, it may not have gotten as out of hand, but I think Arkansas really flexed their muscles and showed why they're so dangerous. They beat you in multiple ways. Again, they're as deep as all get out, 1 through 9. They've got a legendary head coach in Dave Van Horn. And I think this was a team, I mentioned it back in March, Harrison, when I saw him in person here in Nashville, that it just, I was kind of scared to say it because of some of the past years, what had happened, but they felt like an Omaha's club. Like you looked at them and you're like, this is a club that should be in Omaha. They look the part. They've got all the makings of it, and now it comes to fruition. So what do you think about how emotional Tony was after the game? I thought that was really interesting with his – we knew that he respects Dave Van Horn tremendously. I don't want to like be hot takey, but it does make me feel like that maybe the door will be open for him to one day go to Fayetteville. I would not be surprised.
I don't think you could ever close any door after last year.
You can't close any door. Yeah,
I appreciated that because people want to just villainize Tony Vitello, this, that, and the other. How he gets ejected all the time, which he doesn't really get ejected all the time. He's kind of, I don't want to say grown up in a sense of that, but he's kind of relaxed on getting thrown out. But it's like Bobby Cox. You kind of love it, unless it's not your team, you kind of love it. But to spend the time, wait there and, talk to the coaches and do everything he did after the game, I had a lot of respect for that and praise for that. And people that don't like Tennessee are going to disagree. But this team is defending national champions that just lost on the road and got swept in a super regional in which they felt like they didn't really play that well. I mean, the history of Dave Van Horn and his coaching career, the coaching tree, I have a lot of respect for that. So tip of the cap for Tony Vitello for that. I think he's one of the best coaches in college baseball for a reason. And I think it's more than just winning. It's how he leads a team, how he leads the men in the dugout, the locker room, the expectation he kind of holds them to, and just kind of everything he stands for as a coach. And I think that was just another facet, another example of why and who he is.
Yeah, he's one of those guys in college baseball that maybe is painted as the villain, or he's a guy that's just fun for college baseball fans to hate, but he's one of the good ones in college baseball. Glad we have Tony Vitello. Any club in the country would take him as their head coach.
100%.
Before we move off this, Harrison, because you did bring it up, and we don't have to spend a ton of time on it, but this series got really chippy and emotional, and it hurts my Braves' heart, honestly, to see people going after Chipper Jones. That feels wrong to see that. But really briefly, your thoughts on because again, it's crazy here. So like we're talking about the series and we're sticking to the baseball for the most part, but there were as many, if not more, storylines that came off the field this weekend as did on. Thoughts on what Chipper Jones had to say about the state, and maybe if you want to throw Jeff Rancourt in here too, what those guys have had to say about the state of the game of college baseball.
I'm not going to speak personally for them, but what I think of kind of their perspective is I don't think they watch enough college baseball to know the landscape entirely. I mean, Chipper Jones didn't go to college to play baseball.
That's a good point.
I mean, And it obviously different.
Frenchie didn't either, did he? I don't think
Frenchie did either. I mean,
no, I think he was out of high school. Yeah, pretty sure he was a straight out of high school
right now just to confirm. But I mean, I know he's from Atlanta, Georgia. Yeah, he's Parkview first rounder. I mean,
yeah,
I just knew for sure Chipper was, but it's a different day and age. There's with old school, classic, just kind of vintage style, play the game, do little things right, put your head down and run around the bases, home run kind of guy. And I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. You cannot complain with that at all. I don't care who you are. I don't think you can complain with that at all. The flares and stuff, like, I think the bigger thing that is not really a part of this, but it's like the little league kids that have just 2 sliding mitts. I'm like, you don't even steal bases and you're sliding feet first. Like all the drip, the swag, with this, that, and the other. I think that's a bigger issue. But like, I just think it's part of the reason that the old school versus new school kind of battle and fight and hard-headedness. And I honestly think it's good for the game of college baseball. It grows it. But what kind of hinders it is what you talked about, and I've agreed with you on, is that you can't really retaliate with under control. You know, you can't throw inside in a guy and then the other team not get fired up. Coach, he's throwing on our players, this, that, and like, all right, no, he's throwing a fastball in because he's trying to jam him or something like that. Or if he tries to put him in the ribs, like, you're getting ejected. It's just, you can't retaliate in that kind of form or facet. You know, if you want to pimp a strikeout, we've seen Trevor Bauer do it, obviously. And, you know, he's won a Cy Young. Some people hate that. Some people don't hate it. You know, Zach Root getting emotional. You know, Andrew Fisher. I thought the Andrew Fisher firing up the crowd before he at bat, that's a little excessive, but like, kind of backed it up. So what can you say, really? But, you know, Ron, you want to pimp it a little bit? Sure, go for it. You celebrate, you earned it, you know, but just kind of within reason, I think. But it's just crazy how, like, I'm not surprised those tweets and things went viral, but it just felt kind of under a niche microscope of amount of college baseball and just hyper focused on like 2 examples.
Yeah, very interesting for sure. That, again, that was a huge.
But also, we know Jeff Francoeur is like it. I feel like it's an understanding that Jeff Francoeur is like so against Ronald Acuna's theatrics and just like the flashiness, this, that, and the other, the celebrate. Like, it feels like that's so overwhelmingly true that like it doesn't surprise me. But I mean, like I said, it's an old school players, no problem with it, but it takes a take.
Yeah,
it does grow the game of college baseball, Chris. More people talking about it.
Indeed. When you're getting put on a disc tape, that helps grow the game, certainly. All right, let's keep it moving. Again, I just thought that was interesting. I want to get your take. Let's go to Baton Rouge, Harrison, the other SEC team punching their ticket to the College World Series. The LSU Tigers take care of West Virginia in 2 games. I don't think the result was really surprising. I will say what is really encouraging from the LSU perspective, Harrison, don't look now, but the bats are coming alive for the Tigers. And granted, you're going to face better pitching staffs, one of them in game 1 of the College World Series, that being Arkansas. But still, you got to love the confidence that I think LSU is building, swinging the stick. They also took advantage of, you know, West Virginia pitchers, especially in game 1, could not find the strike zone to save their life. It looked like Alex Box, I thought, got to West Virginia a little bit. Some misplays in the field, if you will. But again, LSU just simply a better team, top to bottom. I mean, Cade Anderson wasn't even really, and anything.
Anderson wasn't his best either.
They weren't really their best. But again, when you're scoring double-digit runs in both games, sometimes your pitchers pick up your hitters. Sometimes your hitters pick up your pitchers. Certainly the offense did their part. Harrison, thoughts on, I mean, what felt like a pretty dominant performance. You didn't have to use Case and Evans. We didn't see Zach Cowan. Like, you got to get some other guys in there and get them work, which, you know, Jay Johnson and that staff love, but really dominating performance by LSU as we expected against West Virginia.
Chris, I don't think anyone expected me to say this, but dominant performance in handling the Super Regional with a little bit of ease on the backs of the offensive production, not the 1-2 punch of Cade Anderson and Anthony Einstein. I think that's good. I think it's good for LSU fans, and I think it's bad for everyone else that they have to play or potentially will play in the College World Series, because don't let the offense get hot now. We talk about how, you know, it's been had some cold spells here and there, but
hey, Monster Milam. This is Monster Milam season. Yeah.
I've talked to coaches in the SEC, and the biggest thing they say is, you know, healthy and hot in late May. And we're in early June, and LSU's still playing. They're healthy and hot. And when you have a 1-2 punch that they have in the offense that can swing it like this at this time of year, that is the most deadly and fearful thing with a history of a program and fan base like LSU's at home that will travel to Charles Schwab Stadium in Omaha, Nebraska. We know that for sure. I'm just concerned for the business owners if they're going to go out of food and out of alcohol, honestly. But that's a whole other conversation we'll talk about next week. But
Friends at Rocco's are
I just think
ecstatic.
You have Cade Anderson go 7 innings, 9 hits, 7 runs, 6 earned. That doesn't feel like a Cade Anderson stat line at all. But like the length, you kind of leave him in there and give him the opportunity to pitch longer. He goes against 33 batters. But like you said, you use different guys. I mean, you use Will Schmidt, who I think is a really talented guy, and Jay Johnson is very high on. We talked about early in the season when he was pitching midweeks. He goes, "Sorry, you guys aren't seeing him in the midweek anymore." And you're not using, big guys like Cowan and Chase Shores did pitch, Case and Evans. I think it's good. You get them a little bit of rest so late in the season, which they're going to still play in Omaha in advance in June. And you get other guys opportunities in big situations, big moments that you might need down the road, like Cooper Williams. You might need him. You might need, DJ Primo. You might need, Maverick Rizzi. And just these guys that can pitch in big situations that don't get opportunities to do so because they're not the first 2 or 3, 4 calls out the pen. I think it's huge for those guys for their careers and potentially contributing here in Omaha when we get there next week and the biggest stage and the biggest moments for LSU season. And you got to be thrilled to have an offense like this backing you up when you're on the mound, whether you're Cade Anderson, Anthony Irons or not. But I think you do need to give props, though, Chris, to West Virginia. Back-to-back super regionals. I mean, and you put up 9 runs on LSU and then 5 in game 2. And you're at the box, one of the hardest places to play in college baseball. They had over 12,400 fans in game 2. They had over 24,000 fans in the super regionals in 2 games at Alex Box. It's hard to argue that anyone does it better than them. And for West Virginia to do what they do, I said they're the best team in the country on the road. They have 5 losses, over 23 wins on the road. The best record, best team on the road to go into Alex Box. And I think, yes, it didn't feel as close as it felt closer than the final score as I thought. I really did. It kind of just, for me, it did. And just the moments felt bigger throughout the game, situations. But you got to hate it for West Virginia if you're not an LSU fan that, like, as a team, you put up 9 runs in LSU and you lose in game 1, like on the road. God, like that one's got to hurt and sting. But that's what it means to play LSU. And when one phase of the ball isn't, playing as well, like the pitching staff, the offense can pick it up like that and do so at home. It's a prime reason why this LSU team is bound for Omaha and heading there this week, and why there's such a gauntlet of a program and one of the best programs in the country historically.
Yeah, Rocco's obviously rejoiced when LSU punched their ticket. Again, I think the thing that's got to excite you, Harrison, just to echo what you said, the lineup. This is Monster Milam season. He gets hot this time of year. Bear Jones, I know LSU fans really encouraged, and I was encouraged seeing him take a breaking ball backside, something he hasn't done of late, because he was in that cold
slump. He only had, 2 hits, I think.
He did, but I thought the at-bats were better.
Sorry, 4 hits, 2 RBIs.
Yeah, 4 hits. I thought the approach was better from Bear Jones. I think it's encouraging to see him get going. Jake Brown had some big knocks.
Yeah, big game 2, 4 RBIs. I mean,
Derek Curiel gets moved down to the 7 hole in game 1. He pops off. I think he had like 4 hits in that game. Jay Johnson pushing all the right buttons. So, Ethan Fry. He's going to swing it. Luis Hernandez, big piece in that lineup. So,
yeah, Josh Pearson, really impressed with his weekend.
Yeah, Pearson. I think he had the grand slam, correct? Yep. I think in game 1. So,
RBIs,
again, you and I both agree that offense, if they keep swinging it like that, it's going to be hard, Chris, because
you have Josh Pearson do that top of the order with 2 for 5, 2 runs, 4 RBIs in the grand slam. Then you don't play in game 2. It's like, this is how deep that lineup is, that they have got
Jake Brown instead. Yeah.
I mean, then shout out to Jay Johnson. I got to tip a cap here. Giving Josh Pearson the pinch hit late in the game, one final at bat for the homegrown kid that has been in LSU's entire career. What I think he's meant more than what people think that aren't LSU fans, that he's meant more to the program than what, it looks around the media and kind of nationally. And typically cap him. I thought the strikeout, that sucks, but appreciation for him for getting an at bat in his final game at home. And I respect and have a lot of appreciation for Jay Johnson for doing that.
Yeah, but that was an awesome moment. Like you said, despite the result, who cares? It was cool to get him in there, get a standing ovation, last at bat at the box. And I know we'll talk more about this Thursday, Harrison. And, I think Arkansas is dangerous too. Don't get me wrong, but this LSU team feels as dangerous as any. Expect the unexpected this year. Again, we'll talk more about it Thursday, but they feel as dangerous as any with the momentum they've built to this point. Could say the same about Arkansas. And by the way, final thing, it only felt fitting that the season come to a close at Alex Box after a 3-hour rain delay, and Alex Box after dark taking center stage.
Yep.
You could see the West Virginia pitcher. That poor guy was laboring. That starter. You see him in the dugout. He got the towel over his head.
He looks like the best and most unique facial hair.
Oh yeah, but he looked like he was in hell. I mean, really, truly, like the humidity and the heat and just the crowd at Alex Box. It was incredible. That was college baseball at its finest. So excited, very excited that LSU, our friends from Baton Rouge, are going to be in Omaha. Cannot wait.
We will see that bingo bus in Omaha. But Chris, I got to add one more. I think it's worth noting. Chase Shores looked great. Oh my gosh, he looked great. I mean, 1 1/3, no hits, no walks.
Pumping a hundo.
I mean, hundo just. I said it to you, and I've said it. I think I've said it to Chase. I said, I hate you and how easy it looks like you throw 100. But I mean that's even more encouragement to have him looking like that right before Omaha.
Yeah, LSU's deep, man. They're loaded. They're loaded.
They're deep on and off the field, Chris. They travel.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. The Hogs and the Tigers in Omaha going to be a blast. Harrison, let's keep it moving. Let's talk about the other supers, non-SEC related. We've got 5 more. Let's jump over to what happened in Louisville. The Louisville Cardinals take the series, take the super, win that series 2-1. They win in the rubber match, if you will, to punch their ticket to Omaha. This one was really, really entertaining. And we both said coin flip, had no clue. I thought maybe Miami was cooked after game 1. They were not. They bounced back. And then a really dramatic game 3. Thoughts on Louisville of the ACC punching their ticket to Omaha?
I think I was most impressed and just looking forward to the pitching staff of Louisville. And having called 3 games for them on ACC Network, the second to last regular season weekend, and the talent that Patrick Forbes is still come back from injury. I know it's been almost a year now. I believe the timeline's kind of around there, but like, I don't think he's still 100%. And to go out there and have the arsenal that he does and pitch like he can and has done in this series, 5 2/3 a hit or 4 hits, 1 run, 9 Ks, and the 4 walks, obviously a little concerning, but to go out there and, what felt like hold this Louisville lineup down, except for, kind of game 2 late, you got to be really impressed with Louisville's pitching staff as a whole and kind of, I think, flying under the radar of the teams in Omaha, except for maybe Murray State, which we'll get to because they just like to smash the ball as much as possible. But I think that, and then you have Eddie King Jr., who I talked about, the 3 most important players, I think, for Louisville and in this series reside on Louisville's lineup: Jake Monroe, Eddie King Jr., and Tay Davis. Tay Davis is the NCAA freshman home run leader this season, and he's only going to be able to extend that in Omaha. Eddie King Jr., the season that he's had and what he's meant to his lineup, I mean, their production that he gives them, it feels like every single game and the threat he is when he steps in the box, batting over 350. And, Lucas Moore at the helm, I don't think he had that big of a weekend. I mean, I think he had 3 hits and 14 at bats, but like, it feels like a threat at the leadoff spot. I mean, whether he's like, it feels like quality at bats, but I just think I was impressed with that. And, be able to respond after losing game 2, because you win game 1. It's like, all right, all the pressure's on Miami. It felt like more than Louisville being at home. And I was impressed with Miami responding, honestly. I mean, especially because you only get 3 innings out of Griffin Hughes and he gives up 4 runs on 5 hits, but the lineup just up and down produced. And you get 3 hits from Michael Torres, your center fielder in the 9-hole. And you get production throughout that. It felt like everyone but 2 or 3 guys had a hit that game 2 for Miami, and just kind of the fight and grit we've seen from them throughout the season and the ups and downs. I said going into the postseason in the regional, you don't know which kind of Miami team you're going to get. They've had their highs of highs and lows of lows, and I think for Miami, it's a phenomenal season. I think because they're flying on the radar of what people thought they were going to do in the ACC, but Louisville and Dan McDonald and just the program that he continues to just build from the ground up, it feels like, and just get Louisville Cardinals back to Omaha, a jam-packed ballpark. Our friend Micah Butel was there on site for that, and I mean, he raved about what Louisville fans did and showed out and the energy they had, and the postseason baseball at Louisville and how intense it felt. And I think that speaks a lot to them. And, it's all predicated on what Dan McDonald's done at the helm of that program.
Yeah, Dan McDonald, one of the best in the business. Again,
the reason why he's always a head coaching candidate anywhere.
Yeah, that series lived up to the hype that it had. I mean, a 3-2 final in Game 3. Louisville's just a really interesting, sneaky. I think, like you said, Harrison. I don't know
Gritty
how
team.
many are. I don't know how many are going to be picking them to go deep, but watch out for the Cardinals. Watch out of the ACC, the lone ACC representative. We will get there in a moment. Harrison, before we break down the final 4 super regionals, because we got 4 good ones to talk about, let's tell the good people about our friends over at FanDuel, because as always, we're brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Guys, the wait is over. Baseball season is finally here, and you can start the season strong on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now FanDuel is celebrating the return of baseball by giving new customers $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel's got so many ways for you to get in on the action, from hits to steals to homers. They've got a lineup filled with all your favorite bets, or if pitching is more of your thing, FanDuel's got a deep bullpen of bets, from strikeouts to shutout innings. So when you place your first bet, it can be on almost anything, and if it hits, you'll get $250 in bonus bets. Harrison, don't look now. We've got odds to win the College World Series. We're going to have game odds for all of the College World Series action. We're going to be placing our picks, so make sure you get in on the action, and when you do, visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today. That's FanDuel.com/SECU. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official partners of Major League Baseball. Harrison, let's get back to it. Go ahead.
One more note on Louisville.
Yeah.
Just going to say, Georgia Tech took 2 or 3 from them.
I love how you fit that in there. That's beautiful.
To give Danny Hall his final regular season series win at home.
Good to see some
They almost threw 2 no-hitters against them back-to-back in the same day. They were a strike away.
I remember because I was watching that.
They were a strike away. I was on the call for both these games. They were a strike away in Game 1 with Brady Jones. In Game 2, they were 7 innings no-hit against Louisville. So,
well, I'm just glad to see you bring out some pettiness today, because I'm about to get there. There's going to be some pettiness in this show today. Let's go first, Harrison. We got 4 more to go. Let's go to Los Angeles. This was one that I
saved one of the best for last.
Oh, I am. I'm saving these 3 for last, specifically for a very specific reason. Let's go to Los Angeles, where the UCLA Bruins, Harrison, punched their ticket against UTSA. UTSA, admittedly, was the mid-major, or one of the mid-majors, I should say, that I thought was going to handle their business, pull the upset. UCLA had absolutely no interest in that. They win Game 1 5-2, Game 2 7-0, pretty dominant. Harrison, great season by UTSA. Truly an incredible run by them. But UCLA, at the end of the day, just too much. And the Bruins are back in Omaha for the first time in over a decade.
Yeah, when was the last time they went, Chris? Was it 2013?
2013 when they won it all. Yes, sir. Yep.
I'll admit, I did thrift a UCLA Omaha shirt a couple years ago that I have.
Okay.
It's pretty cool. It says Omaha Rain on it. It's pretty cool.
Okay. Very
good. I might have to bring it. Should I bring it?
Why not? I mean, hey, just
in Rome.
Why not?
25th anniversary of the College World Series. Why not? But no, and Chris, I predicted this. I picked 2 of the 3 mid-majors. I said one of these 2 is going to win. I should have picked all 3, but one of these 2 is going to win. UTSA, Murray State. Obviously, I was right. Obviously, I was wrong with this series, because UCLA, like you said, had no business hanging around and playing 3 games against UTSA. But I was really impressed from, I think, more so the offensive standpoint of UCLA, because we know they have really good arms. And I think their arms are kind of under the radar, just being a West Coast team, in the Big Ten now, formerly Pac-12. But like Michael Barnett, Landon Stump and Ian May, who are their starters rotation. And, Barnett goes 6 innings, 6 hits, 2 earned. It felt like this was more of the quietest regional or super regional compared to the others, just with dramatics and being West Coast, but also just the intense rivalries and, levels of programs we've had with other teams around that are in supers. But, Landon Stump gives you 4 shutout innings, and then, like I said, with Michael Barnett, Game 1 gives you a 6 innings of 2-run ball in his game. And we talked about the UTSA bullpen and what they've been able to do this postseason, how they were light years ahead of the rest of their conference, and then rolled into Austin, Texas. Sorry to bring it back up, but it just felt they dominated that with the bullpen. It's just how they held the line. I was surprised that they didn't, I guess, use the bullpen and stomp a lot more. I mean, especially in Game 2 and how it kind of turned. It just felt like, the guys that went to the bullpen could, hold a line or just kind of in the bleeding. But No one's really talking about, I guess, obviously in the SEC because they don't focus on, teams outside the SEC as much. I try to do a little bit, but I mean, Raj Chalawatski, if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, one of the best players in college baseball, he didn't even have a loud series. I mean, I think he had 1 RBI, 3 hits in 1 run on 10 at-bats, and he is one of the best players that's not a Golden Spikes finalist in the country. And it's kind of scary that they can get that production. Yes, you can say it's UTSA, but get the production they did, especially in game 2, without him producing almost entirely. I mean, he's got over 1,200 OPS, batting .367, 23 home runs, 73 RBIs, and it feels like he just had a bad series almost, pretty much. I think that's got to be positive for UCLA that they went on and won a super against a super regional team in UTSA. Yes, they're mid-major, but they're a super regional team, and to do that without their guy, that's really good. I think more so taking away positive from that aspect than anything else.
I'll be totally transparent, Harrison. This is probably the super I watched the least, if I'm being totally honest, but UCLA is a good team. I did catch a little. UCLA is a very good team. Again, kudos to UTSA for a great season. I mentioned the Roadrunners were a team that if they made it to Omaha would be one of they would have been the team I'd have been pulling for outside of the SEC. I would have loved to have seen make a run to the finals and win it all. Still, great season for the Roadrunners. And again, this UCLA team, like you mentioned, they can really swing it. It's UCLA baseball. They're going to pitch as well. So, I will say this is going to shock some people because SEC, right? I'm very clear where I stand. But I will say as a college baseball fan, I am happy to see the West Coast showing out a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's good for the game.
Talked to Kyle Peterson about this before the season. He's obviously a West Coast guy here on our airwaves. And I asked him the question. If you listen to the interview, you might recall, are you worried about the regionality of college baseball and SEC, ACC taking over? And he said yes. I think it's healthy that we will have representation from coast to coast in the College World Series. I think that's a positive.
Coast, almost.
I think that's a positive. I think that's a plus. So believe it or not, some of you probably shocked to hear me say that, but I'm actually happy to see it. I think it's cool. UCLA, I don't know if you throw them in the blue blood category of baseball, but this is a program that it's, when they've been in Omaha, it's been good to see them there. So anyways, not upset about it at all. UCLA representing LA out in Omaha. It's going to be a lot of fun to see. And again,
how much they travel.
Yeah, I will be curious. I got to be honest. I'm kind of expecting them at the bottom of the Jello Shot Challenge, but we'll talk more about that on Thursday, Harrison. I think we should lock in predictions for the Jello Shot Challenge.
I think the sales tax in Nebraska is a lot less than California.
Oh, it is. Maybe that helps. I don't know. Harrison, let's go to the upset of the weekend. And by the way, I'll probably take time after this as well to spend more time on this. But for the next 3, ha, ha, ha is all I have to say. Because the ACC, buddy, again, we'll spend more time on this after. The upset of the weekend, though, nobody. Our guy, Jake McKeever, I'll give him mad props. He's the only one I saw.
Only one.
Pick this that was bold enough to go here because Arizona goes into Chapel Hill, Harrison. Not only do they win this super and pull a massive upset.
They get blown out in game 1.
They got boat raced. 18-2, got embarrassed. They come back and win 10-8 in game 2 and 4-3 in game 3 in Chapel Hill to upset a team that, Harrison, many were picking to win the national championship. Just a mind-boggling. I'll be honest with you, Harrison.
They were
mind-boggling. It was just a mind-boggling upset, especially after game 1. Thoughts on Arizona going into Chapel Thrill and upsetting the Tar Heels?
I'm just shocked, honestly, in the facet of how it happened. It wasn't like it was game 2, they lost 18-2 after winning game 1. It was game 1. It set the tone for the series. It really did. And you're on the road, you're across the country, and you're playing one of the most talented and deepest teams in college baseball. I had North Carolina in the finals. And I felt more confident about this one than a couple others just because of what I've seen from North Carolina, how high of a floor and high of a ceiling they've had this season. The consistency of which they play at, Scott Forbes as a head coach, playing at home, the depth on both sides of the ball. And man, this was, like you said, by far the biggest upset of the super regionals, I think, just because you're down 0-1 on the road against one of the best teams in the country after getting blown out. And the way that they battled back to win a shootout in game 2, come back and win a nail scraper of a 4-3 ball game in game 3 after being down late. You're down, what was it, 3-1 late? I think they were down. And man, just give them props, especially after you only really have 2, I think, aces, like starters. I want to say really 2 stars. I mean, you have Colin McKinney, but I don't think he qualifies with enough innings in his 13 starts. You got, what is it, Smith Bailey and Owen Krimkowski, who are their 2 guys that qualify starting pitching wise with a 4.01 ERA and a 5.48. And Owen goes out there and, gets shelled. I'm sorry, he just gets shelled. 1 1/3, 6 hits, 8 earned. And you're just like, this is the worst possible scenario for Arizona Wildcats. One of your 2 starters goes no length and you're down 8-0 to start the game, basically. And the way that they battled back, and I think it was really strategic how they kind of did so, and just, you don't really burn a lot of your high leverage arms, I guess, in a sense. You got to play at that point, you got to play. You're still trying to fight back. And so maybe if you score 4 or 5 and it's 8-5, it's like, all right, let's use some more high leverage arms. But you got to play for a 3-game series at that point, almost entire. And the way that they did that, and you got to use an opener of, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name because I don't want to butcher it, but Raul G. Garazar, maybe, I don't know. But, and then use him as an opener, and then you kind of go bullpen after that with like kind of long reliefs, and you end up winning that game 10-8 when you're facing Jason DeCaro on the mound. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out how to put into words what this series that Arizona did on the road across the country meant, and just the kind of the deafening silence it feels like at the Bosch. I mean, it was just. Then game 3, it's like, all right, this is all the pressure is on UNC. There is not a single bit of pressure on Arizona, it feels like, at all, because of everything I just mentioned. And you have Smith Bailey, your other starter, who you put in game 3. You don't even use him in game 2. You use him in game 3, which is crazy to me. But he gives you 6 strong innings, 3-run ball, and it's like, all right, we got a shot. We got a shot at this. And the offense has some pop in it. You have guys like, Mason White, who can produce in the lineup, and just other guys as well. I mean, Aaron Walton, and the later that game got, the more pressure it felt like was still on UNC to kind of slam the door, because you see, we just get 10 runs from yesterday. They could score, obviously. And man, to do it in the way they did, come back and win that, and just to celebrate on UNC, feel like that felt just crazy. And like I said, no one expected that, I feel like, except Jake. So shout out Jake McKeever for picking Arizona. That's how I'm sorry.
I know it pains us. It pains us to give Jake that much
how
credit.
That series just
it pains us to give him that much credit. I feel.
No, hey, I'll tip a cap to.
It's all love to Jake. It's all love to Jake. That was a wild pick, man. I mean, you get to that game 3 and you're supposed to win. It's, and the longer, not that like Arizona's a good team. They were not there on accident, but you let a team that you feel like you're better than just hang around. I mean, you throw all the stats and records and everything out the window, and they got the big knock late. And dude, UNC had some chances late and just couldn't get the big knock they needed. And
it was it was Mason.
I mean, here's the thing, Harrison,
in the 8th inning.
And I mean, here's the thing, Harrison, and this doesn't matter, but like, this is kind of the theme of the College World Series this season. Like, I don't think there's anybody in the college baseball community that would say North Carolina is not one of the 8 best teams in the country, even today. But they ain't one of the 8 teams standing. So
I agree.
It's why you love baseball. Just, you never know. You never know what can happen. So Arizona, really, and what's wild too, I mean, I got to see them opening weekend in Arlington, and great.
You love mentioning this.
Well, I'm just saying it was the middle of February. Like, a lot can change, but they had a terrible weekend. I'm like, God, this team's just not very good. Now they're in Omaha. So it's kind of weird that I will close the season the same way I started, watching Arizona and Louisville, by the way. Both of them were in that tournament. Texas and Ole Miss, obviously, are not here, but you get the point. Wild, wild weekend in Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
Harrison, let's
They're
go
down,
to
maybe back in Omaha.
Who
They
knows?
are an Omaha team that I feel like people don't talk about enough, with how successful program that Jay
What,
Johnson
Arizona?
was.
Yeah,
When he was
good
there. Now
program.
Chip
Really good
Hale,
program.
a phenomenal head coach that flies on the radar because he's kind of a West Coast guy. Another former Pac-12 team, not in the Pac-12 because that dissipated.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
the Pac-12, if it was still a thing, we'd be talking
Big
about
12 got a team in the College World Series because you would have never believed it.
I know. It's crazy. Crazy to think. Harrison, let's go to, speaking of West Coast, let's go to another, and Pac-12, by the way, being no more. Let's go to another former Pac-12 team.
I'm glad you caught that transition.
How about the Oregon State Beavers taking 2 of 3 from Florida State? Harrison, you and I both said weird things would happen in Corvallis. My friend, weird things happen in Corvallis. From the beer display behind home plate to Oregon State's offense inexplicably having a home run parade after that's not really been their forte like all season. They're hitting like 5 or 6 in a game. You have a 1-run ball game in game 1, 5-4, Oregon State wins. Florida State bounces back, wins game 2, 3-1. And then that game 3, 14-10. I mean, the explosion by the Beavers offense. FSU tries to come back. It's too little too late. Oregon State kind of back where you feel like, Harrison, they belong, that being Omaha, Nebraska in the College World Series. Thoughts on that? This was, dare I say, this was the most entertaining super regional of all. This one was wild from the jump. It's pretty close. It was a fun one. It was a fun one.
It was top 2 for sure. I would, there's an argument for number 1, I think, for sure. I think because of kind of the pedigree that both programs are. They both feel like Omaha staples in the past, decade. Oregon State obviously winning it in 2018 in a comeback fashion as well. Florida State, just the prestige of a program that they've had that haven't won it yet, and being in Omaha last year. They were the last team from last year that could have made it back this season, Chris, and Tennessee. But man, I mean, what an entertaining series it was from the jump. And you got to Florida State's just biting their tongue and just so clenching their face, so mad because of how game 1 just got away from them. I mean, you're up, what was it, 3-1 late?
That was crazy. And that was 4-1 in the 9th.
4-1 in the 8th or 9th inning.
Yeah.
And then you go into extras. It's like,
I mean, how many straight 2-out hits did Oregon State have?
I think it was 5 straight 2-out hits. And you get a great, you don't use Jamie Arnold game 1. You get a great start from Joey Vellini, 6 2/3, 7 hits, 1 earned, 8 Ks, no walks. I mean, dominating. Joe Charles comes out of the pen and really immensely struggles.
4-1 in the bottom of the 9th, and you lose.
But man, John Abraham just not able to close the door there, and just gut-wrenching, I think, for Florida State fans and ACC fans as a whole. And just weird, like you said, weird things happen in Corvallis. We both said that. I mean, just the program that Oregon State is, they have a lot of sluggers in their lineup. And I mean, Avia Arquette, but I want to mention obviously Trent Caraway and the weekend that, it felt like he had. I mean, I don't know how to really, I guess, put it into words. Just it kind of got away from Florida State. I feel like more so Florida State lost that series than Oregon State went and won it. And, Trent Caraway having just a huge series, especially in the final game with 4 RBIs. And I know they scored, 14 runs, but like just what he means to this lineup and how important he is, I think, in the role. And like you said, it just felt like it was an explosion of home runs. Like there were some cheapies, I'm going to say cheapies, but like there were some short home runs and then there was some moonshots too. But entertaining from all facets. If you got everything in the series you wanted, you got low scoring nail biters, comebacks, walk-offs, extra innings, slugfest. I mean, it's hard to be disappointed in that series as a fan of college baseball that didn't have any interest in either team. But man, I mean, what an entertaining series. And both these teams are national championship contending teams, I think. I really do think so. And when you have, Jamie Arnold going game 2, you got to feel real comfortable on the mound. And, he gives you exactly what he did all season long. And you come back and win that game and force the game to 3, put some pressure back on Oregon State, even though you should have swept that series, it feels like, and just slugfest. Let's go out and just swing it and see who ends up with more runs at the end. And man, entertaining series with jump. Like I said, I think Florida State more so a little bit lost it than Oregon State won it. Not taking credit away from Oregon State. They are a smash factory. They can hammer the ball, and they proved it, I think, all season, but more so in this postseason here. They scored, 20 runs in a regional game? They scored like 60, 50-something runs in the regional as a whole. And, are poised and back to Omaha for the chance to win another national championship title for the Beavs.
Harrison, I'm going to disagree with you. I think Oregon State took it. I don't think FSU lost it, sure, but Oregon State took it. You're up 4-1.
I think
and you're up 4-1 with 2 outs, and you can't close it out. I mean, Oregon State, you got to get. And I know you weren't taking credit away, but you got to give them a lot of credit. And then FSU comes back, win game 2. Game 3, to me, is kind of the ball don't lie game. And my friend, they pounded Florida. I mean, that 14-10 ain't even remotely how much of a blowout that.
You have 5 different guys for Oregon State to have a home run. Trent Caraway,
that game was like
13-3
at one point.
Pearson, Cannon Reeder, and Carson McIntyre. I mean, that game was like 13-3 at one point. That game was not close. FSU had some late game. They punched back a little bit, but I think Oregon State took it. I think Oregon State took it. There were chances. There's opportunities. It's just like every other sport. There's 3 or 4 or 4 or 5 moments that define a game or a weekend like that or a series. And Oregon State essentially took damn near every one of them. You can honestly say both, honestly. Florida State lost the series, but then Oregon State went and took it. Because they lost it in game 1, and then Oregon State went and took it in game 3.
Well, typically somebody has to win and somebody has to lose it. So you are correct. Technically, you're correct. But no, like I said, it really came down to weird stuff happening in Corvallis. It got weird.
I'm excited to see the Oregon State fan base in Omaha and what that looks like too, honestly.
Yeah.
Chris, that's a third former Pac-12 team.
Yeah. If the Pac-12 was still a thing, they could be touting it. So
Chris, can you believe that the independent conference has, if you can consider it a conference, has as many teams in Omaha as the ACC, as the Big 12, as the Big 10, as the Missouri Valley Conference?
Yeah. I thought that was cool too after we talked about it. Oregon State having 16 home games all season. It was a really cool.
That place was jumping too for Oregon State. That was jumping.
It was a great atmosphere. So
helps when you win and when you have 14 runs though too.
It does. Harrison, let's close it out. The one that concluded on Monday, the only one that got to Monday, that being the Durham Super Regional, the Duke Blue Devils, who win game 1. Murray State goes in, beats Duke, the 4 seed, who advances out of the Oxford Regional, is now in the College World Series. The Racers racing their way to Omaha. Duke wins game 1, 7-4, but Murray State bounces back, wins game 2, 19-9. And they beat Duke on Monday night, 5-4, Harrison. And this was one that, after the weekend that was, a lot of chatter from ACC folks about the SEC. I picked Duke going in the weekend. Duke was one of my preseason Omaha 8. I didn't give a damn. I was pulling for Murray State in game 3. I was ecstatic when I saw the Racers had won. You obviously picked Murray State, so I know you were thrilled. But the biggest story here, a 4 seed is back in Omaha. Wild story. Credit to Murray State. Their head coach, Skirka, you reposted the clip. Great dude, great leader, great coach. That's a really, really good team, and they're going to be a fun one to watch in Omaha. Thoughts on Murray State doing what feels like, at least, the unthinkable, punching their ticket to Omaha?
Yeah, I think Dan Skirka is one of the best mid-major coaches in the country, and obviously a great leader, man. I mean, he was asked immediately on the presser on the field before getting the Gatorade and water dumped on him, the emotions of this moment, kind of what this means. And he goes, God is great. God is great. Like that was just, for me, that was the icing on the cake, the cherry on top. Like, I was recruited personally by Dan Skirka, and so I have a lot of appreciation for him. And, I think he's a phenomenal head coach. I've thought that for a long time, one of the young up-and-coming coaches, with Skylar Meade as well as a mid-major. And, I have been on a visit to Murray State, and just when I was back in junior college baseball, obviously did end up going there, didn't work out. But nothing against the program or the coaches. I'm big fans of both of them. And it's great to see a mid-major in Omaha, I think, especially after, the game feels like it's shifted as a whole. that it's gone away from mid-majors producing with the NIL, the transfer portal, revenue sharing now. And I think it's great to see not one, but two mid-majors for the game of college baseball as a whole make it to the College World Series, the mecca, the home, the heaven of college baseball. And to see a 4 seed do it, let alone a mid-major being a 1 seed, I mean, it just shows how wide open the postseason is. I mean, 3 straight years, the Missouri Valley Conference has had a team. They've been a one big league for the last 3 years, a one bid league. They've had 3 teams, a team in 3 straight years going to the super regionals. You had 2 years ago in 2023, you had Indiana State. Last year, you had Evansville, a win away from Omaha, and they were in a super regional with the team that won it all in Tennessee. I mean, yeah, you can say they ran out of gas, but Murray State clearly didn't. They raced their way, they slugged their way, they smashed the ball their way, and made the pitches when it counted, even though, it wasn't a low-scoring game. I mean, every game they exploded. I mean, we talk about Oregon State's runs in the regional and postseason. Murray State had over 50 runs in a regional in which they were, you could say, the worst seeded team because they're the 4th seed. They scored over 50 runs. They played, was it Ole Miss 3 times, Georgia Tech once, and it was just like, this team's legit, and people keep taking for credit. And yeah, they don't have, the pitching staff that LSU or Arkansas has, or other teams, but they just find a way to win. They found a way. And yeah, you could say maybe they had a better, an easier super regional than other teams. They didn't have to go play at Alex Box. They didn't go play at Fayetteville against Arkansas. They didn't have to go, play Oregon State out in Corvallis, the middle, the Pacific Northwest. But, just found a way to win, and the strings at the right time. Dom Decker, what a series he had, and just the catalyst for this offense as a whole. I mean, it was unbelievable to watch him just have one of his best series, I think, of his career, and most memorable, I think, for sure. And then the way that Jonathan Hogarth ties, I think, the single season home run record for for Murray State's program in having a solo shot to start it, and then a solo shot to, take the lead late in the game, if not tied, if I remember correctly, and just, wow, holding the line, putting all the pressure. That game 3 pressure, Chris, was all on Duke. Mm-hmm. When I don't speak about house money often, but when I do, Murray State was playing at house money. People are like, they still don't deserve to be here, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. You lose game 1. And I was probably one of the only few, if not only one, to pick Murray State in the super across the country that I saw on Twitter and media. And they're down, losing game 1. They come back and win 19-9. It felt like it was even further than that. And you get Isaac Silva, who gets shelled at 5 1/3, 6 hits, 6 earned. And then you come back in a gritty win in game 3. And a guy that your guy, Graham Kellum, I think, had pitched 50 pitches the day before. He comes in 2 2/3, 1 hit, 1 run, 4 Ks, 1 walks, and slams the door. I mean, just gutsy, and just what this program, this mid-major, means, I think, to college baseball as a whole and shows and represents, is that I think the game is still open. Honestly, I really do. And it's open for, it's obviously really top heavy with the SEC and the ACC, but it shows that there's still chances and opportunities for Cinderella or mid-majors teams that can go on a run. If they're hot, healthy, and doing so in late May, it's possible. And Murray State is just another team to be able to prove that. In the most recent one, they're the 4th 4 seed since the 1999 regional format that we currently play in to make it to Omaha. Fresno State 2008, they won it all. Stony Brook in, was it 2012?
12.
They, I think, went 0-2. Oral Roberts in 2023, they went 1-2, I believe. And now Murray State, the 4th 4 seed to make it to Omaha. Great for the game of college baseball. I mean, this is such one of the most memorable moments for Murray State baseball and program, I think, in their athletics history, maybe. And you have Ja Morant tweeting about it, racing to Omaha. I mean, I just don't know what to say. I'm ecstatic for it. I think it's great for the game of college baseball. Shout out to Murray State. Shout out to Ja Morant's alma mater. Chris, on my visit to Murray State, I got to see Ja Morant play in 2018, before he got big, before he played, I think, that Auburn game, before he was really on the map. So that was super cool because he was there from 17 to 19. And I mean, cool experience, but you might find me in racer gear in Omaha, Chris.
Have at it. Have at it. Listen, the Racers are a great story. They're also just a really good team. I don't want to make it sound like a great story. Like they stumbled. Yeah, like they stumbled their way here. It's a really good team. But they'll be a fun one, obviously, to talk about in Omaha and break down. And, again, a really dangerous team. They are on the same side of the bracket, which I should have mentioned. And we'll talk more about this, obviously, on Thursday. But you guys already know the bracket's out on the same side as LSU and Arkansas. So undoubtedly, we're going to have an SEC matchup against Murray State and Omaha. So that'll be really interesting. Also, too, a development. We now know after Duke's this Duke's head coach. I don't think it's officially official, right? But
it's official. I've seen it's official.
Okay. Well, Chris Pollard of Virginia.
It's a big one. And he's taking the entire staff with him.
Yeah, it's a big move. That's a big move. So
Pollard, a fast move too. Less than 24 hours. 13 hours.
Which tells me, Harrison, these conversations had already been happening.
Absolutely.
Obviously, it doesn't just happen that quickly if they haven't been.
Which I think as a Duke fan or a fan of any team that loses their head coach like that, I think it's terrible feeling. Timing, I think is.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it sucks. It sucks, but I think the reality is comparing Duke baseball and Virginia baseball is just two different
things.
What
Chris Pollard's done at Duke in his 12 seasons at the helm, 4 super regional appearances.
He certainly laid a good foundation for the next guy.
He made Duke baseball maybe the best it's ever been under any head coach in Duke baseball history.
Yeah.
So notable alumni. One person and you're very big on. Mike Studd, Duke baseball alumni, and Marcus Stroman.
Yeah. Some very notable ones indeed. Harrison, on that note, we talked all 8 super regionals, putting a pin in it. You notice I left the final 3 for a specific reason. Our last 3, Duke falls to Murray State, Florida State falls to Oregon State, North Carolina falls to Arizona. Harrison, I feel as if I've entered my villain era on social media a little bit. It was a wacky, wild weekend outside of just the Coastal Carolina stuff, which, again, we already talked about. I talked about it on social media. We talked about it today. Tip the cap to Coastal. Congrats to the Shants. Excited to see you all in Omaha. Lot of ACC chatter from ACC folks and talking trash on the SEC's name. Folks, the Omaha 8 is set. It's Arizona, Coastal, Louisville, Oregon State, Murray State, UCLA, LSU, and Arkansas. What's the common theme there? And this conference used to exist. They get the SEC. Still, at the end of the day, most teams in Omaha with a quarter of the field with 2, LSU and Arkansas. So, Harrison, I've talked a lot about it already, so I won't necessarily repeat myself, but I just wanted to throw that out there. Be careful. Make sure you come correct when talking the best conference in college baseball. That's all I'm going to say. So, there was a lot of chatter this weekend. A lot of chatter.
I do want to state this, Chris. I think the gap this year is not as far as people thought, or as we thought preseason, between the SEC and the ACC.
Never said the gap was that far. But when you're spending a bunch of time talking about how overrated the league was and these teams shouldn't have got in, and there was just these last 2 weeks, there's been an attack on the SEC because people have seen an opportunity to trash the league and trash the conference. And all I'm saying is, number one, it's social media. Like, it's not real life. It's really, truly, believe it or not, guys, all in good fun. But when you're throwing takes out like that and you're dogging the conference saying teams shouldn't have been in, you got to be able to handle the heat and the backlash back when, your 2 top teams, I would say, and then another, and Clemson already lost too. When your top teams are losing and get eliminated and you only get 1 in Omaha, you got to be ready for what's coming from that. And I don't think some were ready, Harrison. Like, I got to be honest. Some were not ready. I mean, you got people getting so in their feelings. They're not to get in too much detail, but, and it ain't nothing but a thing. I don't really care, but people unfollowing your boy that cover the ACC because they're so up in their feelings. And I'm like, bro, you started it. You didn't have to. All we ask for is a tip of the cap. That's all we ask for. If I can go on social media and eat crow and get a diss tape made about me by a university, my God, the least you can do is say, hey, you know what? the SEC still was the best conference in the country. That's all we're asking for, but, I digress. Anyways, I've kind of said my piece on all this, so,
It's hard to say the SEC is not, though, as a whole, when the last 5 national championships have been by the SEC, by different teams in the SEC. And I remember seeing, I think it was preseason, how I saw a quote from somewhere on Twitter that the top of the ACC is, I think, deeper than the SEC, or it was like the bottom of the ACC is better than the bottom of the SEC, whatever it was. But I'm still going to stand on the fact that I think the gap this year is not as far as people thought.
I think that's fair.
I mean,
yeah,
I don't think so at all. I mean, you've seen the same teams, like, and I think it's predicated on not getting to Omaha, but just a super regional. Like, you could say Texas didn't make it a super regional, but they had a very successful season. I mean, Clemson had a successful season. Yeah, they didn't get to Omaha, but it's still a really good season. Duke didn't get to Omaha, really successful season. Georgia didn't get to Omaha, still overall successful season. I mean, the only thing I think you could say is Texas A&M and Virginia, but that cancels each other out. So
yeah, I mean, listen, I agree with that. I think the Omaha 8's very indicative. There was even more parity than, certainly I expected. Listen, I'm shocked it hasn't recirculated yet, but I had a pretty bad take before the season, or just a take in general, that, I thought the Cinderella stories in college baseball were dead. And according to Kevin Schnall, they're not a Cinderella story. So, anyways, I thought that we would see more of the big boys, the big names. It felt like they were kind of picking on the smaller guys, taking the talent. But I think this season showed that there's still a lot of good players in college baseball that play all over the place, and a lot of really good teams. And I think it's good for the sport. It's healthy for the sport. I know some people can't believe I'm saying that because I'm just all SEC. And no, I think it's healthy for the sport. It's good for the sport of college baseball. It's a lot of fun. Again, I love to have fun on social media and poke at some of those ACC guys and some Big 12 guys and some just everybody else. But at the end of the day, I'm excited for the 8 we have. And, just obviously we both have our fingers crossed. There's an SEC team in the finals. So,
Chris, even like the ACC teams that made it, like Miami almost makes the College World Series. Louisville makes it. Like, if I preseason looked at the ACC and said, which of the 5 teams do you think of these 5 teams will make it to Omaha? Clemson, Georgia Tech, Florida State, Louisville, UNC. I got 6 teams in Miami.
People would have been like, why are you including Louisville in that? Like,
exactly. And why are you including Miami in that? It would have been, it's either UNC, Florida State, and is there going to be a third?
Yeah.
Like, if Virginia would be in that, it shows that there's parity in ACC baseball as well. Like, it's deep. I think it is deep. Talk about Auburn's season, where they were preseason expectations, where they ended up a top 4 national seed, hosting a super. Louisville makes it Omaha. They weren't, I don't think, a top 8 team in the SEC. Vanderbilt, the questions a lot of people had of them. They were the number 1 overall national seed. They won the SEC tournament. Look at those things. It's the ACC and SEC are both so deep, and it's so good for college baseball as a whole. And I think it's great for the game going forward.
But finally, you ACC guys, I hope you enjoy watching Arizona, Oregon State, and Murray State in Omaha. Just say that. Harrison, let's get into some questions before we close it out. Just some comments, if you will. Gunner Files, best game of the whole thing, coming up Saturday. Winner of that game is going to win it all. Again, we'll talk a lot more about this on Thursday, but I think, Harrison, you would agree, Saturday night is going to be pure cinema between the Hogs and the Tigers. It's going to be a lot of fun.
There's going to be some, they might get on the radars of your phones and, loud environments, or, pop up on the radars of the earthquake, just how loud it's going to be because of those fan bases.
Jello shots will be consumed before 6 o'clock on Saturday night. They
might be consumed before 10 a.m., Chris.
Oh, they will. I have no doubt. I actually respect this and think this is funny. Connor Johnson, who's got a Beavs avatar, if you will, on YouTube, says Pac-12 over SEC. The best conference in college baseball.
Say Pac-12 over everybody this year, technically. Ex-Pac-12.
Hey, let's bring the Pac-12 back. Make the Pac-12 great again.
Make the Pac-12 after work. Bring it back.
Let's put the Pac-12. Let's get the band back together. Truly.
Make it the Pac-10. Whatever it takes. Pac-8. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, let's get the band back together. Our guy Noah Lejeune says, LF go EAUX, baby. Talking the LSU Tigers. We know there's going to be a lot of LSU folks in Omaha. Max says if LSU gets to the finals, we can get Jay versus old team Arizona. Nate Yeske versus his old team Oregon State, or payback for LSU and Jay versus Coastal in 2016. Let's be real, Louisville is not reaching the finals. Mac, this is a year where I don't know if I can say with confidence for sure, like, this team isn't. This thing is wide open. I have no clue. Again, we're going to try to lock in picks as best we can, but really, truly, who knows? So let's see. Ryan Exis, the winner is going to be the Jello shots when the Hogs and Tigers show up. Yeah. Rocco's, our friends at Rocco's are ecstatic.
Can't wait to be there.
Ecstatic.
I can confirm the Jello shots are as you'd expect.
Yeah, they're going to be really good. Noah, final comment. What's up?
Whoa.
Did you skip one?
No, the Jello shots. They're just like, it's Jello shot. I mean, it's
a Jello shot. It is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, it'll be good, though. It'll be fun. It's good to stack on top all your frozen vodka
I will say this,
bourbon.
Chris, and Murray State's they're racing their way. They're in the lead of the Jello shots already per sources on social media.
That's probably my pick to finish last. I'm being totally honest. So no disrespect. Just Noah, I'm betting Murray State money line until they lose. Vegas continues to underestimate them. Be interesting. They get UCLA game 1. That could be interesting. That could be very interesting. Harrison, go ahead.
Racers bats not playing around, but we'll see how it translates to Charles Schwab, where it plays big. It does play bigs, but those alleys, those gaps. I mean, we saw it with, what was it, Luke Millstone, I believe, for Murray State, stand-up triple at Duke.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We'll talk more about that, again, how it impacts every single team on Thursday. Guys, Thursday, do not forget. And we've got 3 live on location shows we're really excited about as we prepare to embark to Omaha. Thursday, we will be live. The Windup will come to you live from Omaha Baseball Village, 11 to 1. Our friends over at Chinook Seedery and USA Baseball, their booth. Really, really excited to go live from there, guys. Make sure you come out, get yourself some seeds. We'll be flinging seeds out there as well, and it's going to be a good time. Obviously, that is the media day at the College World Series, so we'll be doing our thing, locking in picks, previous predictions. Then we'll head over to Charles Schwab, probably talk to some of the guys, hang out with some of the teams, if you will, and just kind of get ready for a great College World Series event. Then next Monday, guys, speaking of Jello shots, we'll be live from Rocco's, 11 to 1. Really, really, really excited for that. I know Harrison is as well. We'll be doing some Jello shots with you guys, talking about opening weekend, breaking down the rest of the college baseball. And then on Wednesday of next week, we'll be live at Blatt's, right across the street from Charles Schwab. Hopefully at that point, Harrison, talking about an SEC team either having locked up their spot or being on the verge of locking up their spot in the finals. So we've got 3 live on location shows. We guys will have all kinds of reactions. We're still going to do Friday Night Spikes. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of social media content. The vlog is going to be rocking and rolling, and we are ecstatic. Content bleeding out of the eyeballs in Omaha, Nebraska, College World Series, the Windup, SEC Unfiltered, Chris Phillips, Harrison Fant, taking over the best event in college baseball. Harrison, excited to do it with you, my friend. Any closing remarks, last words before we hit the road to Omaha?
Chris, the road to Omaha is almost complete. Less than 12 hours from now, we'll be finalizing and finishing the road to Omaha physically and mentally. 8 teams have punched their tickets to Omaha. Over 300 began the season with hopes, dreams, and opportunities and aspirations. 64 had a chance in the NCAA tournament. 16 in the super regionals, but only 8 can stand tall and reach the mecca, the heaven of college baseball that is Omaha, Nebraska, which symbolizes and feels just almost exactly like what Augusta National means to the Masters. Just that 2-week period of the year where all eyes in the sport are focused on little old Augusta, Georgia, or little old Omaha, Nebraska. This year, we get 8 new teams that none of them have been there last year. We get a 4 seed, the 4th one ever in this tournament since 1999. The pedigree, the parity, the prestige of a lot of teams in the field, the geographic disbursement of the teams. You can't ask for more except for the fans to show up and show out and enjoy the best baseball of the season on the biggest stage, the biggest moments, the biggest players, biggest plays, the biggest stories, where only one can lift the crown, lift the trophy, and dogpile and hopefully dog pile at the end of the season, shortly here in Omaha, Nebraska.
Well said, Harrison. Find me a brick wall to run through. Again, we'll be on the road very, very soon. We cannot wait to see you all out there. And Harrison, I want to tell you as well, and our audience also, but you specifically, it's been a great journey navigating this with you since early in the season, before the season started, the cold January and early February days. And we finally have made it to this point, my friend. The next time you and I on the airwaves together, we will be in Omaha, Nebraska at the College World Series. And that sounds so good to say. So, guys, we hope to see you all out there. Obviously, again, make sure you catch us on Thursday. Stay tuned to social media. Obviously, all the updates, the latest from us when it comes to content. In the meantime, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. For Harrison Fant, I'm Chris Phillips. This is The Windup, SEC Unfiltered's bi-weekly college baseball show, the best college baseball show on the internet. Y'all have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you all in Omaha. Cheers.